here, coming at you live. We are doing a live lesson. After all, it is Live Lesson Wednesday here at Campfire Guitar Star. We go live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm in Mountain Time. Let me know where you're at right now. I'd love to get your comments, so write me one. Let me know that you're alive out there. And I'm just going to have a look at the comments. And whether you're on Facebook or whether you're on YouTube, you are in the right place, man. This is going to be cool. We got a 1960s style guitar lesson lined up for you where we're going to break down both Whole Lotta Love by Led Zeppelin and Hey Joe by Jimi Hendrix. And there's this really cool similarity between the two tracks. Basically, they share the same riff, or like a part of the riff. So the end of Hey Joe is kind of like the repeating lick that you keep on hearing in Whole Lotta Love. So I thought, hey, you know, 1960s rock guitar, it's kind of cool. Here's two classic tracks, and why not learn both of them? So I see Jody and Gary are alive and well, and we got Todd coming at us live. Great, guys. Well, yeah, keep those comments coming, because I mean, that's probably the coolest thing, and probably the biggest reasons why we do live lessons on Wednesdays instead of the pre-recorded lessons, is so we can interact with you live and answer any questions about this git fiddle thing. Man, you know, I was practicing today and I'm like, man, I really got to get a lot better. Man, the guitar is tricky. So, and in fact, you know what? I just took a lesson from a local pro here. Even though, you know, I've gone to music college, I've toured in the United States, I've had my songs on the radio, all that kind of stuff, man, I still feel like I can get a lot better. And that's kind of one of the most beautiful things about music and learning an instrument is there's always so much room for improvement, and it's cool that way, you know. It is really, really cool, and and if you can find the specialness in that drive and that grind, you know, if you can find the beauty in the grind, then man, that's really cool, because you know you do have to enjoy the hard work, because of course at the end of the road there is payoff. And sometimes that payoff is ripping a solo, playing songs for your friends and family, or writing a song, or whatever that is for you. So, and I guess for me, it's kind of all of the above. So, all right, West Wind's in the house. Yeah, West Winds went to music college, you betcha. All right, so Todd is coming in from Las Vegas. A couple of Floridians, Floridites. What are you guys called? All right, so. Jody asked, how many guitars do you have and how do you get good? Excellent question. Well, the more guitars you have, the better you get, is what I've found. So I keep on buying them, as you can see, and I'm fingers crossed. It hasn't worked out yet, but anyway, but yeah, keep the questions coming, guys. And of course, let's try to get good. So, like I said, we're going to learn Hey Joe by Jimi Hendrix and Whole Lotta Love by Led Zeppelin. Check it out. They share this lick. Okay, of course we recognize that from... Now check it out. I'm going to show you the trick that Jimmy Page did in that track. And just one thing about it, guys. We will be giving a copy of the 5-Minute Guitar book to one lucky listener. There's going to be a little piece of trivia at the end. If you answer the trivia right, we'll ship you that book and get you access to our entire beginner guitar system, which is valued at $140, totally for free. So anyway, stick around. Yeah, let's eliminate distractions and just hang out here. Turn off your messages and let's play guitar and learn guitar and get good at this thing, like somebody's already asked already. So that lick is actually in Hey Joe as well. So there's this riff in Hey Joe that takes place. Okay, do you hear that? Right at the very end of Hey Joe, it's the same lick as Whole Lotta Love. So let's just learn that lick. And then once you repeat it, you'll get Whole Lotta Love. And once you get that down, you'll be able to play that final bit to Hey Joe, the riff from Hey Joe by Jimi Hendrix. So what you see I'm doing there is I'm up on the 5th fret of the low E string. I'm going to slide in to the 7th. And here's the lick that we're trying to do is... Okay, so we got 5 to a slide, up to 7th, to the 5th fret of the A, and then you're going to switch back and forth between 7 and 5. So 7 on the low E string and 5 on the A string. And you're going to switch back and forth. Boo bow, boo bow. You can hear that, right? It's the same kind of pattern of notes repeated there. So we got 5 slide to 7. We'll clean it up here. Give you guys a little more volume. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Okay, so here we go. So we got 5 slide to 7. Okay, so there's that repeating note. And then we're going to go up to 7th fret of the A and drop in our low E string. And that's an octave, by the way. 7th fret of the A string is the same note as the low E string. You can hear one's low and one's higher, right? So they're the same note, but one sounds lower and one sounds higher. Maybe that should be the trivia for today. What is that called? And I'll give you the answer right away. That's called an octave, right? So this is the octave lower. And then we got our high notes. And those are all over the guitar. All right, so here we go. We got. So when we play it like that, that's exactly how Jimi Hendrix plays it at the end of that riff in Hey Joe. So we got, I'm using my 3rd finger to slide in from 5th to 7th, by the way, because it just kind of lines up the other fingers. Sure enough, you kind of already started hearing Whole Lotta Love. And the big thing with Whole Lotta Love is basically the beginner version would just be to chug on that low E string with all downstrokes. About that riff, and we'll expand on that, and I'll show you exactly how Jimmy Page plays that, but that's an easy kind of single note version to play Whole Lotta Love, and yeah, it kind of sounds like it. And that would be the next step in the progression, is to hit that octave note that we just talked about and kind of pump back and forth in a rhythmic fashion. Right, so you can see that every time my head goes towards the floor and I stomp my foot down on the downbeat, I'm going to hit that octave note, and then I'm always chugging on the low E string. So, right, so just try that for yourself right now. So see if you can get the. So that pattern is kind of cool what he does. So on the intro, there's a longer section of time in between that lick, okay, the lick that we're learning, okay? And then once the vocals start, then that gets shortened in half. So what I mean is this lick, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So then when vocals come in with "You need new land," it gets shortened, so it's 1, 2, 3. Okay, trying to talk, teach, and play guitar all at the same time, losing my rhythm. So does that make sense? So we got those rhythmic shots, and on that intro you're going to kind of basically think of it as a 7-time thing, and then the lick, which completes the grouping of 8, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 5, 6, 7. so it's just kind of this little subtlety that not a lot of people pick up on, but that's exactly how the rhythmic phrasing of this tune goes. Okay, so we got that going on. Now here's a couple of upgrades to that to make it sound really a lot like the intro to Whole Lotta Love by Led Zeppelin. And here's the big thing, is this move right here. Okay, now it's subtle, okay, but here's the thing, speaking about notes and finding ways on the guitar to play the same note, check it out. If you play the 5th fret of the A string and you compare it to your open D string, as long as your guitar is like at least somewhat in tune, then you should be able to actually hit them at the same time. Here, I'll clean up my sound here, and you'll see for yourself that when I hit them, it almost sounds like I'm playing one string. Do you hear that? Now, if we bend that note a little bit, we're going to bend our first finger kind of up towards the ceiling and keep on hitting those notes. See how it kind of like it starts sounding dissonant, right? Like, and by dissonant, I mean it's like going out of tune. And it's sounding like wobbly. There's like this wow, 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 wow kind of thing going on. Right? Okay? And so that's actually what Jimmy Page does on that riff, and it gives it this cool attitude. So instead of, it's actually, okay? So that's 2 strings at a time on that with a slight bend. Okay? Now if that's getting beyond you, no worries, just stick with this. And of course we can do that really slow. But when you're ready for this upgrade, that's right, get that finger right on the tip, bend it towards the ceiling, bend those 2 notes out of tune. Okay? And go ahead and listen to the track yourself, and you'll hear there's just this subtlety there that just sounds like just fat and wide. And that's how he's doing that. He's playing 2 of the same notes, bending them out of tune from one another, and so they kind of like, you know, get dissonant and they get wider apart, and it actually sounds kind of fat. Okay, and now here's the second upgrade that you can do to Whole Lotta Love to make it sound more like the track, which is to play a power chord. Okay, so like we were talking about earlier, doing that rhythmic shot on the 7th fret of the A strings when we were going. Well, if you just play a power chord there, so we can upgrade this note into, so instead of, we can make it sound like this, which I'm sure you'd agree sounds a lot more powerful, right? So with that, what we can do is, the power chord formula is always the same. If you know how to play a power chord already, then just work on this. But a power chord, once you have your first note and you know where your first note's supposed to go, then it's always just 2 frets up and 1 string over. And it's usually you're going to use your 3rd finger. Sometimes I use my pinky finger because I like that because I can actually bridge my fingers in there and mute other strings. So in this case, I don't know. We'll see if I end up using my 3rd or 4th finger. Sometimes it switches. So that's how you can get a more powerful sound and might make it sound more like Whole Lotta Love, is to actually get that power chord in there. So with those 2 upgrades, we can change this. There's nothing wrong with that. Sounds cool. Sounds like the track. Like if somebody heard you play that, they'd be like, hey, that's Whole Lotta Love by Led Zeppelin. But what we can do is we can make it sound more powerful by adding in those 2 upgrades and then hitting that power chord. So again, we can change this into chorus too much, but the whole, and just kind of match that vocal line with two power chords, 5th fret and 7th fret. And then I like going up to the 12th fret, covering 3 or maybe in the top 4 strings, and doing a whole slide down, and just repeat that. Okay, or you can optionally do like an octave there. Okay, so that will get you in the territory. Now, if you caught the lesson title we were talking about, or maybe you've been watching this video since the beginning, is we're talking about this cool little similarity that Whole Lotta Love and Jimi Hendrix, Hey Joe have. Okay, so now now that you have this lick down, the 5 to slide to 7, that whole little pattern is a little like a slightly different rhythm. However, it's the exact same notes. So we got 5 to 7. There's just really a big spacing between those last two notes. Instead of like Whole Lotta Love, where it's right? Now, let's talk about the other notes in Hey Joe. And by the way, I haven't even mentioned this, but we're going to have a tab for this whole lesson available for download in the description and in the comments below. So absolutely make sure to get a hold of that. And yeah, that will be really helpful to follow along with this lesson. And then also just you can print them out and stick them on your wall and just have a couple of cool riffs that you can always go back to. Okay, so we'll have that all ready for you. Okay, so check it out. We got this riff in Hey Joe. So forth. Okay, so that riff, as you can see, it's using these things. It's a movement called chromatic movements. And maybe you've heard of a chromatic scale, or maybe you've heard of chromatic or chromaticisms or whatever. All that means is just one fret at a time. Okay? Whenever you hear chromatics, that's all it means. A chromatic scale is actually just this. And so on and so forth. Boom, chromatic scale. Done and done. One fret at a time. Okay? Now, so there's chromatic movements in this riff. So starting from the A string, 3rd fret, just hit the 3rd fret, drop in your low E string, and then our chromatic movements really start here where we go 1, 2, 3 on the low E string. So we got 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay? And then the chromatic movements are super easy to follow from there. So once you get 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, then it's actually easier, even easier than that. So we're going to go 2, 3, 4, 5 on, and that's counting the frets. 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 4th fret, 5th fret on the A string, and then you do the exact same thing on the next string down. You can see I'm doing 1, 2, 3, 4 too. This is a great way to practice this, so you activate all your fingers. Anyways, on with the riff. 4th fret of the A string, another chromatic movement, 1 fret at a time, 4, 5, 6, 7. And here comes that lick. Okay? And then we repeat. So 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. And then the chromatic movements, first one starts from 2nd fret of the A string, 2nd fret of the low E string, and then 4th fret of the A string, hold, low E string, and then we got our Whole Lotta Love lick. And we start again. So the cool thing about the Hey Joe riff is that we got the exact same rhythm all the way through. So if you were to just clap out the rhythm, here's what the rhythm would sound like, okay? It would be down, 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 down. So if we take away the notes, it's just, right? It's just like clockwork. Boom, 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 boom. And you can make that as slow or as fast as you want. Boom, 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 boom. My point is that you want to have those notes super, super steady and have the same distance between them from when you execute them, okay? So boom, 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 okay? So that's an important thing about that rhythm for Hey Joe. So if we were to play that together nice and slow, we'll go like boom, 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 1, 2, ready, go. Okay guys, so that's what I had planned for you today, was showing you that similarity and showing you those two awesome 1960s rock guitar riffs, Hey Joe by Jimi Hendrix, and that only happens a couple times in Hey Joe, so I challenge you to do two things here. Listen to Hey Joe and pick out that part in that song, and I think it happens twice, and they may repeat it as well, but I'm pretty sure there's two different times they go and they play that riff. Okay. On the live versions, maybe it's a little more often, but on the original recording, on Are You Experienced, that famous Jimi Hendrix album, listen to that version and spot out that riff. And hey, see if you can play along with it eventually. Okay. And then what you want to do, the second challenge here is to get the rhythmic variation of Whole Lotta Love. So you got the long section. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay? So see if you can pick that up by listening to the track Whole Lotta Love by Led Zeppelin. Okay? And of course, they share that lick. Boom, 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 boom. Okay? So let's open it up for some Q&A, and I also want to give away a book, The 5-Minute Guitar System. Okay, this is basically here's what happened. I started teaching guitar, and first of all, I always thought like, hey man, guitar is really tough, and I struggled with guitar, and you know I'm actually really a slow learner, and so I always thought, like, if I'm to teach guitar, here's how I would teach it. You know, I would start people out, like, really easy and just get them playing music and show them that, hey, music is possible for kids, adults, total beginners, people who've never picked up the guitar before. Okay, like, what would I show that person? Okay, and that's like the first few chapters in 5-Minute Guitar. It's just all about getting that total ground zero beginner up and running. Okay, and then from there, into power chords, songs like I Love Rock and Roll by Joan Jett, you know, cool stuff like that, Black Sabbath's Iron Man, okay, power chord riffs, and then, only then would you tackle chords, and you could play cool songs like Sweet Child of Mine. But anyway, so this is it's an entire book, it's actually really popular, and we've got some awesome feedback from it. And it's just a cool thing to have around the house, just for things like this, like the reference material in the back, like all these chords, and and these are all the chords that Mike and I teach, and just things like changing your strings. So even for that reason alone, it's just a good thing to have around. So, anyways, we've got this this whole book. Now, I was thinking about a trivia question for you guys, and get your questions coming in, because right now it's Q&A time. I want to answer any guitar questions that you may have, any challenges that you've been experiencing. So let me know what those are for you. And so the trivia, and if you get this right, we will ship a 5-minute guitar book to your home. The first one to answer the names of the guitarists that, maybe it's going to be a two-part thing, that's right. Okay, firstly, one of these songs is a cover. Which one is it? Whole Lotta Love or Hey Joe? Second part of the trivia for today is the names of the guitar players in these bands. Okay, Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix. One might be kind of a giveaway. That's why it's a two-part trivia. So again, one of these songs is a cover. It's either Whole Lotta Love or it's Hey Joe. And you have to tell me the names with correct spelling of Jimi Hendrix and the guitarist for Led Zeppelin. Okay? So it's a two-part trivia. Let me know. First person that gets it right will ship a book to you. Okay, so Gary asks, so are you using the 5th and 7th frets for the power chords? Gary, no. You want to hit the 5th, 7th. You were right on your first comment there. Okay? So I think that you're talking about the power chords for... Yeah, so that's 5th fret power chord and 7th fret power chord. Just 2 frets higher. And almost always when you're looking at somebody play guitar, you can always tell because of these great big fret markers. Okay? And of course the dots on this side, right? So we've got these great big markers, and they're always the same: 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret. So if you see my fingers covering those strings, we've got 5th fret and then 7th fret. Okay? So hopefully that helped. Gary says, good book, helped me a lot. Right on, buddy. Nice, and you're doing the scale in the book to warm up. Yeah, we go over the E minor pentatonic scale. Don't get too heavily into scales in the 5-minute guitar book, because hey, you can actually get a lot of exercise from doing riffs like Hey Joe. That's one of the tracks that we teach in the 5-minute guitar book. And you can you can do the warm-up scale. I think we talk about it like this. Just 1, 2, 3, 4 chromatic movements, right? And then kind of the graduation riff is to play something like Hey Joe, which uses chromatic movements, but you're finally playing a song, right? So that's kind of cool. And a great way to practice Hey Joe is to activate as many fingers as you can. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Just to check in to see, like, do you have that activation and control over those fingers? Okay? CKC 411 says that book rules. Cheers, man. Yeah, and so let me know if you guys do have any questions about the guitar or anything. Otherwise, we'll shut it down here, guys. This lesson was fun. Hopefully, you guys got something out of it, and definitely stay in touch. We've got all kinds of great content coming out regularly at Campfire Guitar Star. So make sure to get on our mailing list. You can find those links on the campfireguitarstar.com webpage. How to get access to 5-minute guitar for free. It's so that's a really great way to just get introduced to us and start playing the guitar and learn some cool songs and get some cool stuff under your fingers, and also just be taught kind of the right way. Mike and I both went to music college. We're actual musicians. We gig, we record, we perform regularly, and we teach, and we've taught hundreds, if not thousands, of students now. Especially with our online content, we can actually say that these systems have reached hundreds of thousands of guitarists. So as you can imagine, for us as guitar teachers, that's pretty darn cool. And so we're here to help you and support you. We do one-on-one lessons. We also do, we've got courses in blues, acoustic, rock, and we've got a 1960s song collection, and actually you should check that out for sure, because at the end of the month that will be going on sale. And so yeah, so that's kind of like the theme of today's lesson. But yeah, definitely consider the one-on-one lessons. Like, look, if you've got a little bit of cash, if you're not afraid to spend some money on coaching, and you just know the value of sitting down with somebody, then it doesn't matter where you are in the world, we'll sit down with you one-on-one and actually teach you how to play guitar in person, live, right on the floor, kind of like we're doing right now, but I would actually be able to see you and hear you and give you real-time feedback. So as you can imagine, it'd be super, super powerful. And we teach people all over the world. We just got a new student in Holland, actually. So, it goes to show that, it doesn't matter where you are, you can connect with us, pro guitar teachers that will take care of you, and we'll give you awesome feedback and tweak all those little bits that are challenging for you, and just get you onto your favorite songs and styles way faster, okay? So definitely stay with us with Campfire Guitar Star. And cool, guys. Well, I'm going to shut it down. I appreciate you guys tuning in. And until the next lesson, keep on ripping it up, guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in, okay? And rock on. Later.